The retail recession claims Topshop. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article discussing the final moments of Topshop, a fashion brand retailer that's, well, gone now from Australia. One of the claims of the retail recession, changing fashion tastes. I remember when it first came to Brisbane, and some of our staff were quite excited. I'm probably not the demo, but still. Then again, I had other staff members who would wait in line to get Nike shoes and things like that. So I guess each to their own. But the sad final hours of Topshop Australia as embattled retailer closes its doors, another victim of the retail recession. Items at 94% off, barely a customer to be seen, and big losses. How did one of Australia's most successful retail launches turn so sour? Well, it depends what you consider success. If you consider spending a whole lot of money to get it up and running, okay. Anyone can have a launch party, a launch event. You spend enough money, you put enough booze out there, enough food, you'll get a crowd. It's pretty simple. We've done a few of them ourselves. So this weekend, all over Australia, stores were being emptied by panicked shoppers worried about a possible illness. The store on the corner of George and Market Streets in Sydney's CBD was looking empty too, emptier than ever. Its remaining shelves almost devoid of stock. Well, it still had shelves there. I remember when Masters went under and I went in there and tried to get the shelves. I was thinking scrap metal. But it had nothing to do with fears about the illness. Rather, it was the last gasp, the final sad shudder of an international retail icon. The British fashion chain Topshop Topman finally closed its last Australian stores this week, 11 years after its spectacularly successful launch. Well, it didn't last very long, barely over a decade. Look at that stuff for $1. I mean, pretty much just giving it away, aren't they? When news.com.au visited a fortnight ago, there was still a range of bargains to be had. Grey suits here, pink and grey fleece there. But when we returned on Saturday, just a single floor of the former 4-story space was open. Now here's the thing you've got to realise. That's a huge, 4 stories for clothing. How many people are buying it online? How many people are getting it so much cheaper from online as, well, to save money, and you buy 2 or 3 and make sure it fits? How many people are going into these shops to test out their sizing and then order it online? Or how many are just so tight, consumer confidence, guys, is terrible. Business confidence, and this has just been updated, is plunging. So how many people are going to Kmart or Target instead and getting something cheaper? Could be the way it's all heading. I mean, there you go. There's the mannequins. All I see there is just lots of money to try and sell the stuff. Lots of every square meter costs money in these high-end retail. Then you've got the electricity. Then you've got the staffing. Then you've got your heating bills. All of these things are adding up. Cleaning as well. Just compare the cleaning in a retail space like that to a warehouse space. In one corner, naked mannequins lay piled up. And in the center of the store, the only clothing that remained was one lonely rack of jeans and knickers. Is there anything else on sale? A bemused shopper asked one of the few staff members. Nope, that's it. That's all we have left, she replied. Has anyone gone through one of these closing down of a business like this? Share in the comments what the experience is like. Because it mustn't be too... I guess you'd be happy at least getting paid in the shop, but running it all out. You want to get another job. You wouldn't want to go down with a sinking ship. It's likely the very last item sold by Topshop in Australia was a pair of black 32 black Jamie super skinny jeans. The firm says they're iconic and forever cool, and a true Topshop Classic, usually selling for $85. The last pair sold for just $5. That's a 94% saving. But why even pay that much? A sign said you could take it for $1, but don't expect to try them on, as the changing rooms are closed, and you won't get a carry bag either. They'd run out. The last customers were a mixed bag. Topshop diehard fans, a few British backpackers familiar with the brand from back home. In fast fashion, you have to be real sharp, and I'm not convinced Topshop were that sharp. I think they lost their way, a retail analyst said. I mean, there you go. In the heyday, crowds would form to get into a shop. Crowds would form. I don't understand. I guess. I mean, look at me. I'm working from home now, so I'm dressed so casual all the time. I'll chuck something on if I have to go to a meeting, if I can even be bothered, to be honest. But I don't mind the suit and tie. But I wouldn't wait in a queue for one. Stores in the US and elsewhere have also shut as Topshop retreats back to its UK heartlands to lick its wounds and wonder where it all went wrong. Its parent company has racked up losses in the billions, and its fair share of controversy too. The brand joins US giant Forever 21 and Gap as the fast fashion failures that couldn't break Australia. Or maybe just Australians are too cheap to to fall for it too much. Maybe. Yet minutes down the road, on Sydney's shopping mecca of Pitt Street, rivals Uniqlo, Zara and H&M were full to the gills. It was all so different in 2011 and 2012, when at round the same time as iconic supermodels Kate Moss was snipping the ribbon at Topshop's first New York store, the company was welcoming Australians into flagship branches in Melbourne and Sydney. Long lines of excited young shoppers stretched into the distance, eager to grab some fast fashion at a bargain price. The Australian stores were described at the time as the brand's most successful franchise opening ever. Really? Well, maybe it's just, well, it's fast fashion. You've got shallow, fickle people that'll just go to the latest new thing. Isn't that the whole point? You've got to keep moving. New. Spend. Like I'm watching YouTube videos and all these adverts that people put on for this stupid honey add-on that saves you when you buy $3,000 worth of shoes. Who the hell spends that much on shoes online? If I'm spending that much on an item of clothing, I want it handmade. To suit, not an online mass market purchase. But I guess it's a different world. I guess it's a different world for people. I think Topshop's early results in Australia were quite reasonable, so it probably gave them heart. Brian Walker of retail consultancy, Retail Doctor, told news.com.au. I mean, there you go. I mean, look at this stuff, guys. What's so special about it? How is this any different to any other shop you can go to buy this stuff? You could go over to, well, you used to be able to go over to Hong Kong, go over to Xinjiang, and just buy it there. How is it any different, guys? You know, it all looks exactly the same. A grey suit's a grey suit. Or even better, you go to a Salvo's and get it cheaper. You know. So what went wrong? New stores were opened, and a deal was inked with Myer that would see Topshop concessions appear in department stores, allowing the brand to expand across Australia at a breakneck pace. But the cracks were already beginning to show, said Mr. Walker. The shops just weren't that great. The lighting was poor, stock levels were low, and they didn't have a lot of impact. There should always be momentum and buzz about fashion retailers. Uniqlo has bright colours, big category blocks with attentive staff, and the stock is always changing, so it's fresh and attention-grabbing. Topshop just didn't capture that. They hung too much off the reputation of the parent brand. Why in Australia? Mr. Walker said Topshop was perceived as expensive for a fast fashion brand. Customers grumbled when they saw online the same Topshop clothes were cheaper to buy in Britain. Many of the Australian branches were in highly prized locations, but with high rents to match. In 2017, Topshop Australia went into administration with debts of $35 million. Management was taken over directly by the brand's owner, London-based Arcadia Group. The Topshop concessions in Maya vanished almost overnight. Later that year, Hilton Seskin, who had brought Topshop to Australia and now runs the successful JD Sports footwear retailer in Australia, said it faltered because the Arcadia system was broken. When we launched Topshop in Australia, we broke every record in the book for an opening day of Topshop. It was amazing, he said. It didn't stay that way for long. We had very, very little control over what inventory came into the market, Mr. Seskin said. Products that were made in Asia were shipped to the UK, put through a warehouse facility in the UK, converted from US dollars to Great British pounds, and flown out to Australia. So the model was just broken. I mean, that is insane. That is utterly insane. Why? Why would you do that? He said this because it's because the British company wants to control it and make the money. He said that stock being sent to Topshop's Australian stores was made up of outdated items left over from its British operations. Well, we are the colony, guys. We're not a real country. We're a colony. You've got to remember that. Be lucky you get your scraps from the empire. Be lucky. Be happy. You know, God save the Queen. Cup of tea. I'm not even gonna try. Watch the Spiffing Brit on YouTube if you want that, guys. So Beyonce ditches Topshop. Arcadia kept its Australian arm going, but since 2017 has progressively shut down stores, including its Melbourne CBD flagship, that once took up a sizable chunk of the Emporium shopping centre. It's now an espresso store. How big is that Nespresso store? Mr. Walker said Topshop Australia was never given the freedom to properly cater for its market. I don't know if Topshop understood the Australian psyche. You can't operate a business remotely, not in fast fashion. You have to be figuratively on the street and develop relevance, momentum and buzz in your ranges. I'm not sure if the local arm was allowed to run its own shop. Mr. Walker said the one bright spot in Topshop's offering was the hugely successful Ivy Park range, which was developed with singer Beyonce Knowles and launched in 2014. But in 2018, Knowles bought out Arcadia's half share in Ivy Park. The loss of Ivy Park from Topshop came during a tumultuous time for Arcadia. Its long-time CEO, former billionaire Sir Philip Green, was facing claims he bullied some staff, accusations he strenuously denied. I mean, Mr. Green and Arcadia were also criticised for selling iconic UK retailer British Home Stores for just £1 in 2015, only for the new owners to shut it down completely the following year, putting thousands of people out of work. Some MPs, unimpressed that Mr. Green lived in the millionaire's enclave of Monaco, said he should be stripped of his knighthood. It was all taking its toll on the shining star of the Arcadia Group. Last year, Topshop lost a staggering £500 million. About half of that was a write-down in the firm's goodwill, which largely reflected the weakening luster of the Topshop name. So, Topshop is not that sharp. In contrast, the owners of Zara, H&M and Uniqlo were challenged by weak consumer spending, are still making money, including from their Australian operations. Last year, Topshop announced it would close its final 11 US stores. Even in Britain, it has scaled back its network, closing one of its most visible branches in the Westfield shopping centre in East London, adjacent to the 2012 Olympic Stadium. Stores in New Zealand and Japan have also gone, leaving the brand in a handful of international markets. Founded in 1964, Mr. Walker said Topshop had revolutionised how customers could access on-trend apparel. Topshop was the poster child for culture, for glamour, and it democratised fashion. But its success also spawned a lot of competition. In fast fashion, you have to be really sharp on the basics of retail, and I'm not convinced Topshop were that sharp, he said. I think they lost their way. In the last couple of years, they were looking over their shoulders at the UK parent at how they were performing. Fighting fires at home, said Mr. Walker's Topshop's modest operation in Australia was simply a distraction for bosses in London they didn't need. At around 4 p.m. on Saturday, the final pairs of Jamie jeans were sold at George's Street Topshop. The staff could have kept the store open until 6 p.m, but it hardly seemed worth it, so they decided to call it a day. As the last rack was stripped, the lights were turned off and the doors locked. The company website remains open, but Topshop's Australian physical retail presence has finally come to an end. So there you have it, guys. Another, well, I wouldn't call it a retail success story, but a retail failure that's happened in Australia. Has the market changed in the last 11 years? Well, perhaps since 2011. Look at where our wage growth has gone, guys, over that time. Perhaps that has something to do with people cutting back on their discretionary spending on fast fashion. That could be one element to it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to help us grow, there are a few ways you can. You can share the videos, help the channel grow, and allow more people to find the content I'm producing. We also have the ability to support the channel. You can join the channel on Patreon or here on YouTube for a small monthly fee as a supporter or someone who wants recognition in the post credits. We also have affiliate links with Amazon and eBay for your consumer purchases, or for Kucoin and Independent Reserve for all the crypto traders out there. We have merch available from the HeiseSays website, pocket squares you can see right behind me, find them in the pinned comment, and PayPal for those of you that want to support us that way. Thank you all very much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.